What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. If you've never been here before, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Everybody else, welcome back. For those of you that have never been here, I lived a pretty crazy, delinquent, wild, out of control life, mostly because of drug addiction and a lot of factors that came into play. If you view some of my videos, you'll understand a big piece of my life story that led me up into being incarcerated in prison in New York State for 17 years straight. This story is going to talk about one of those addictions that it's a crazy story that I'm going to tell you. It's a story about tripping out on mescaline and what it led to. And I always say, very important, I do not condone any drug use. I recommend that you stay 100% clean, like me. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, and it's the only way to live. It's a way to distance pain and discomfort out of your life. It's always better to remain in the right mind frame. But I'm going to tell you a story about when I tripped out on mescaline, and it goes back a long time. Um, 18 years old. I was 18 years old. And a friend of mine, her name was Morning Star, and she was selling mescaline. And she had about 1,000 hits of mescaline in a Ziploc bag. And mescaline was a big thing back in those days. And so she's selling all this. And when she's done selling, in the bottom of the bag was a bunch of crushed up mescaline hits in the bottom of the bag. And so I say to her, let me have that. Let me get that. I'll take it. And I open the bag and I lick the whole thing. And I had just made a tragic mistake because if you take one hit of mescaline, you're usually on a trip for about 8 hours, and wasn't thinking as a reckless 18-year-old kid, there were probably 10, 15 hits of mescaline crushed up in the bottom of that bag. And I licked them up. And it usually takes about 30 to 45 minutes for the drug to take effect when you start going on your trip. And I had eaten mescaline many times before. At this point, after I ate it, um, the effects started coming within 10 to 15 minutes, and it started coming really fast and really hard. And I knew I was going to have what they refer to as a bad trip. This wasn't going to be a good trip. And so I go inside of my house, and the time that I did this, a hurricane was hitting Long Island. There was a really, really bad storm hitting Long Island. And I'm in my room watching some television. Just, the trip is starting to come on really hard. And I hear some yelling in front of my house. I don't know if I'm tripping out or not, but I hear some yelling. I realize when I look at the clock that I've been tripping out already for about 2 or 3 hours in my room. And I go out on the front porch to see what the yelling is. And the ocean had come up into the street because I live down the block from the beach. The hurricane brought the ocean into the street. There was 4 feet of water in front of my house. The cars were floating down the block. And my friend Bo is in the street on a surfboard with a six-pack of Meisterbrow screaming, yeah, yeah. And obviously, this was so surreal to step out of my house tripping out on mescaline and see the cars floating and the wind and the rain and my friend on a surfboard in the street telling me, come down, come down. And so I go down there and get him, and I explain to him that I'm tripping. And it was just a really, really wild scene. I ran around with him, for the next 4 or 5 hours, and my trip became so intense uh, to the point where I almost couldn't handle it. And I started to say to myself, I'm never coming back. I'm never coming back. And there are people that trip out and they get this thought in their head that they're stuck like this. And so my trip was not enjoyable. I end up going to my mother's house, and I wake her up. She's sleeping. And I wake her up and I said, Mom, I'm in trouble. She said, what's the matter? I said, I'm tripping out on mescaline. I ate too much and I'm never coming back. I'm never coming back. And she tries to calm me down, of course. And I go into the room in the house and I lay down. And one thing that you really can't do on mescaline is fall asleep. It's not a drug that you can fall asleep on. But I had been tripping out at this point about 8 or 10 hours. And for some reason, I was able to fall asleep. And when I woke up, I was tripping 10 times as hard. I was really starting to lose my mind. I remember watching a cartoon, sitting there eating ice cream, watching a cartoon, and I wasn't able to comprehend the cartoon. I wasn't able to figure out what was going on or why these characters that weren't real were on TV. And I knew that something was seriously wrong. I knew that I was in trouble, and I went back to my mother and I said, "Listen, something's massively wrong right here. I need some help." And my mother called one of her girlfriends, Fern, uh, and Fern suggested that they take me to a hospital, that they take me to a psychiatric hospital. And I end up going to a psychiatric rehab, and they checked me in that night right there. They put me in the psychiatric part of the rehab where you're confined, where you're locked up. And they let me go 9 months later. 9 months later, I remember I was tripping out for at least a week. I don't remember the first week, 10 days, 2 weeks. I don't remember much of it. I was just in another world. I was in another realm, and I just remember when I started to feel like myself again, I couldn't believe that I came back. I really thought I was gone forever. I am now in my 50s. That happened when I was 18 years old. And this can sound a little funny, but the truth is, I really believe that that incident, that trip, took something away from me. I really believe that. I believe at that moment, something was taken away from me. I don't know what it was, but it took a part of me. It was a really, really intense situation. Um, Mescaline was a dangerous drug. A lot of people took it and seem to enjoy it, and they go on a trip and they're fun and they're laughing and they have the feeling in the stomach, almost like a hit of acid. It's very similar to taking a hit of acid or eating hallucinogenic mushrooms. They're all very similar in the trippy type of feeling. They're not exact, but mushrooms, acid, and mescaline are kind of in the same family. Like mushrooms has what's called psilocybin in it, which makes you trip out. But that incident was pretty intense. And another time I was on mescaline. I was in the back of a pickup truck coming back from New York City, and my friend Timmy was in the front seat, and I don't even remember who was driving, but I was laying in the back of the pickup truck tripping out on mescaline. It's about 4 o'clock in the morning, and we're going over a bridge, and I bang on the window to the cab of the truck as we're on top of the bridge, and I said, "Stop the truck! Stop the truck!" And they're like, "What?" I said, "Stop the truck." And they stop right in the middle of the bridge at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I climbed out of the truck. I jumped over the railing of the bridge and I'm holding on to the railing, looking down. I kick off my shoes. I take my shirt off. So all I have is a pair of jeans. And it's 4 o'clock in the morning. And, my friends were reckless too. Oh, there was a girl with us and she was saying, "Joey, don't do it. Joey, don't do it." And my buddy Timmy was going, "You don't have the balls. You don't have the balls." And I remember looking down and I couldn't see the water. It was over 100 feet. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm tripping out on mescaline. I can't see the water. And that concerns me because I know this bridge and there's these big wooden pilings down there that direct the boats. I don't want to jump and land on the wooden piling because then I'm dead and I can't see where I'm going to land. And I just said, who cares? And I jump off of this bridge at 4 in the morning, tripping out on mescaline. And I remember seeing the water at the last second. I'm flying down. And just at the last second, I see the water and I take in a big breath. Boom! I smash into that water so hard, my feet hit it so hard, and I'm going down. And as I'm going down, I feel the temperature of the water start to get cold. So I know I was getting really deep, and I start kicking up with all my strength, with all my might. I'm kicking, and now I'm saying again, I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it. I couldn't hold my breath much longer. I let it out, and I was kicking so hard and swimming so hard. I come shooting up out of the water. I mean, my body comes shooting up out of the water. And my buddy Timmy is up there looking down, and I hear him screaming, "Yeah! Yeah!" And there was a restaurant there called AJ's that was on the side of the bridge. And I swam up to the dock of AJ's because the restaurant had a dock on the water. And I climbed back up. I climbed. They waited for me. They brought the pickup truck around. I climbed into the pickup truck. Where this crazy, exhilarating feeling of jumping off a bridge at 4 o'clock in the morning into the darkness. And I will say that I tried to do that again in the right frame of mind. Months later, I went there and I said, "I'm going to jump off of that bridge again," but this time I wasn't high. And I looked over the railing. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I said, I can't do it. And so, although that story could be a little like adrenaline rush and like real nerve wracking, the point of that story is that you do things on drugs that you would never do in the normal frame of mind. You endanger yourself when you're on drugs, when you would never endanger yourself or put yourself in that position when you're in the normal frame of mind. And that was kind of the story of my life, was abusing drugs and in doing things that I wouldn't normally do. Because the truth is, I mean, even though I may be a little bit of a tough guy, I was a tough guy my whole life. I'm a very caring person. I love people. I love taking care of people. I'm a natural caregiver. I love helping strangers, family, friends. It was always a part of me to reach out and help people. But then on these drugs, when I was under the influence of drugs, I became a different person. It's not that I did drugs and then went out to hurt people, but I did drugs and put myself in a position where things would happen. I have seven between 7 and 11 arrests for assault and assault on police officers, assault with a weapon. The majority of these I was under the influence of drugs. And so it made me somebody that I wasn't. And so even though I can tell these stories and they may be a little bit exciting, they're a little bit crazy. The fact is that I really could have killed myself, that I endangered myself, endangered in other people. And eventually I did take someone's life while I was under the influence of drugs. So they're definitely something that we should all refrain from. I'll continue to tell my crazy stories about when I was on them because, they're pretty intriguing and pretty intense, some of them. There's a lot of other stories I can't even tell, but I'm working on being able to tell them in a way where I don't get jammed up or anything like that. But stay clean, you know what I mean? Stay clean. Those crazy times weren't worth it. I have a saying. Uh, it says that dares, thrills, stupidity, high pain tolerance, intense aggression, whatever it was, I may have been born with it. Over the years, it brought me indescribable joy, but it also brought me unbearable pain. And we want to avoid the pain in this life, in this one life that we have. We want to try and enjoy it as much as possible. And that's my message for you today. Take care of yourself and each other, guys.